I mean, I can record the people who are here,
Okay.
but that's about, I mean, I can't get all the Zoom people and all of that. So
Got it. Okay. All right, then we'll just move on. Thank you.
Okay.
Number 4 is approval of the minutes of the August 9th, 2021 meeting. You're muted, Karen. You're still muted. There you
There
go.
we go.
Hi.
Okay. I approve the minutes for the August 9th school board meeting.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the August 9th, 2021 meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5 is, there we go, prioritize the agenda. Mr. Drill.
I think we're good to go. We can just go right down the list. That should work. It shouldn't have any adjustments in there. So I think we're okay.
Then we'll move on to the first one, which is Superintendent's report. Mr. Drill.
So good evening, everybody. I'm trying to type here, make sure that our other board member can get on. My apologies. All right. Good evening, everybody. Wanted to say thank you for meeting in a Zoom forum. Not the best way that we wanted to do it. However, after watching carefully and paying attention to Marion County with regard to all the safety issues around COVID, this was probably what OSBA, Oregon School Boards Association, and the Department of Education had asked for. And so they recommended Zoom for now. Hopefully in October, we can move back to in-person. There's lots of different ways to do this process. But with the high case counts in Marion County, this was the suggested format. So you guys agreed that this would be the way to go. So here we are. Real quickly, you see my board report in front of you. I would say, you know, I thought last year I was going to tell you that that was the most difficult start to a school year. This has become the more difficult start to a school year. And I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. It's just been a very, very difficult way to get going. That said, over the last week was just totally impressed by the way our staff, top to bottom, handled all the issues, all the stuff that came at them, trying to deal with the frustrating mandates, trying to be able to handle the vaccine mandates, and just trying to come up with a way it is that we can do what we do best, which is serve kids. So in the end, all the schools are working hard. They're trying to figure out ways to work inside and outside. If you're careful about paying attention to the requirements from Department of Ed, there's one could easily poke holes in the process. You know, in one area it seems to be very clear, in other areas it's not clear. It doesn't match up to what's happening in the real world. But nonetheless, our staff just went ahead and said, okay, this is how we're going to handle it. At our elementaries, we've got kids outside. At our middle school, we're doing the same thing. At the high school, we're inside and outside trying to handle situations and follow all the rules. And so far, so good. We're trying to make sure that that works as best we can. As I said to you at the last meeting, and I continue to put in my report, I continue to advocate for local control. This is very, very difficult to do. And I really believe that being allowed to handle our situation locally would make it a whole lot easier for us to figure out how to handle situations building by building. But at the moment, we are not getting that okay. So we continue to press on. As a matter of fact, today I was able to work my way into a House, I think it's a House or a Senate subcommittee meeting next week around education. And I will be one of the 2 or 3 speakers there, so I can explain the situation, how things got started. So excited to do that and explain how difficult this has been. So would like to publicly thank Don Moorfield, working with dealing with the vaccine mandate. We are, nonetheless, if you are the HR director in a school district, you are stuck handling the very, very difficult task of asking all of your employees about whether or not you are vaccinated. We're doing that with the utmost safety and security. We're doing that with privacy, but nonetheless, we have to make sure that we have every person accounted for in the process as per the guidelines. So appreciate that. We got to make sure that we're all ready to go by October 18th. I'm sure she can give you an update if you are interested. And then finally, for me, attendance. We were really interested to see exactly how the attendance would bear out. considering a number of folks, quite honestly, were frustrated with the rules. We've got families that are not happy with the mask mandate. We're also got families that are worried that we're not going to follow it close enough. So we're kind of stuck in the middle a little bit. And we wondered how many students would actually show up. As of last Thursday, we show 2,642 students, which is more than we've ever had before. A number of move-ins. We have some transfers, but not as many as we've had in the past. And so those things have really helped us move along and move forward. We have some, I wouldn't say overcrowding, but it's definitely tight at Turner and at the junior high. At Turner, with the lack of space, essentially what we're working on now is we've added another teacher. She or he should come online here in the next week after we hire them. Right now we're using a sub. And we are also looking at a modular unit, more than one even, just depending on what that looks like. So we really couldn't move on that until we really saw what the numbers were. And once we started to see those last week, we started moving that direction. So Tom Lovell, our retired plant operations director, is in charge of that. He has handled the last two of our seismic upgrades, and will handle our seismic upgrade along with Scott for the next summer. So he's already involved and working on the details, being able to put those in. So that's my report. Any questions from anybody?
I have a question, Mr. Drill. We're talking numbers here of students. What's next? With our bond that didn't pass? Do we need to start coming up with a game plan for plan B?
I think that's probably a possibility. Obviously, with all the issues that came up, you go back before July 29th, I think it was like, hey, let's sit down in the fall and start talking about what the bond might look like. And then July 29th, with the mandate started happening, July 29th, and then early August and mid-August. And we've really been focused on making sure that we are being safe more than anything else. And we really haven't had a chance to have that conversation. So yeah, that's probably a good idea. I've had a number of folks in the building community start to ask about, hey, are you guys going to go out for that? But right now, our goal is to make sure our kids are safe and make sure that we're in and we're following the stuff. So that's probably my roundabout way to say, yeah, that's probably a good idea to take a look at what plan B looks like.
Right.
Plan B could be, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just saying we got things in front of it though,
Yep.
is all there is to it.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, and I had a question also. Mr. Drill, you said that there was 642. So why do we have the increase in enrollment? Are those students moving into the district, or are we putting transfers in, or what's the breakdown on that?
So I don't have exact breakdown, but I can get it for you. But a majority of our new students are move-ins. A number of people have moved in. We do have some transfers. As you recall, the only transfers, our priority on transfers is if we have an older sibling in a building, we generally let the younger sibling in, but only if we have space. And both Cloverdale and Turner are essentially full. And at Almsville, we have a couple of grades that are also full. The junior high is full. And we only have a couple of grades left in the high school. So with regard to transfers, there are a few, not as many as in the past, but most of which folks have moved into our community, and those people we have to take. So we were surprised by that, but we also knew, right, and we've talked about it the last couple of years, that we are growing. So every time they put the housing together or the apartments in Turner, right, we didn't think there'd be that many. We got a few more kids out of the apartments than we thought there would be. But that's why we're moving on Turner. And then the junior high, we're talking about how it is that we can make sure we fit everybody in there. Right now it's snug, but we're okay. And with our ability to go outside at the moment, it helps us with the COVID issues and staying apart in the process.
Okay, and where are we looking at putting the modulars?
Well, at the moment, according to Mr. Lovell, we are looking at putting the modular in where the city of Turner and or Marion County says it's okay. So we're looking at the floodplain plan, and we're making sure that that's okay. He has a couple of ideas. And I know that he's talked with Lisa Iverson and Sarah Federico, the two administrators over there, about that as well. So they are talking about it. I know that Tom's already reached out to the city of Turner. He's talked to City of Turner Fire. John happens to be on the call. I saw them the other day having a conversation over there. And they've talked with, start talking with Marion County and where we would go to get those modulars as well. So talks are ongoing, so we're working it.
Okay. So Turner Elementary.
Turner Elementary.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Drill? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Drill. Moving on is 6B, the financial report. Mr. Pillar.
Good evening, everyone. You have my financial report in front of you. It only records a couple months data, the first 2 months of the fiscal year, July and August. So it's a little bit early to see any kind of trend data. We don't have the first payroll out with the teachers included, which is our largest payroll typically, and sets that trend data. You can see in that August column in the revenue side, you can see the state school fund figure in there, and that's a real solid figure for us. That amount is based on an estimate that we make in December of the prior year. And so, so it does not take into consideration the expected enrollment increases. So based on that point alone, I think that fiscally, we're going to be in pretty solid shape, particularly if those enrollment increases maintain. We will start seeing an increase in the revenue from the state school fund based on those enrollment increases around winter time. So it's typically around November or October, right when the property tax revenue starts to come in. Our expenditures are tracking a little higher than normal, but it's to be expected starting school in the middle of a pandemic. We didn't spend a lot of money on school supplies last year. We spent a lot of targeted revenue, mostly ESSER dollars last year to kind of get kids in, get them in safely. We're buying a lot of traditional things now with that general fund, and we're also adding some desks. I do need to warn you, we don't typically budget a lot of capital expenditures out of the general fund. We kind of do that on purpose. We don't, in a normal year, whatever normal is, we don't typically buy a lot of building improvements. We've got some good desks, those types of things. But we're going to need to be, looking at our budget a little earlier again this year to plan for some budgeted expenditures. I know that modulars certainly don't come cheap. We'll need to be spending some money on those site improvements, that kind of thing. We do have some revenues in the building and site fund, about 500,000 in that, and in the construction excise tax fund, we have about 1.8 million. So those would be good funds to source any kind of unexpected expenditures. We can also spend some ESSER $2 on capital improvements if we so desire, and if it's a need for space to allow more students to have the 3 feeder room. But that's my financial report. Are there any questions?
Would the modular come out of the ESSER 2 funds then?
It's a possibility. We have been spending some of our ESSER 2 funds. We brought over about 1.7 million in ESSER 2 funds from last year. But we have been spending some of those, particularly in the areas of technology and those kind of low-hanging fruit safety things, safety improvements for kids and that type of thing. I think it'll probably be up to the board with advice from Mr. Drill and myself as to where you want to pay for that modular from. You'll have the choice of paying it from the general fund, building and site, construction excise tax, or ESSER 2, depending on the balance at the time when the cost is due.
Okay.
Which will probably be December.
Okay. Is there a deadline to use those ESSER 2 and 3 funds?
There are 2 different deadlines, one for ESSER 2 and then the other is for ESSER 3. We have not begun to spend ESSER 3. That requires a pretty significant plan. I'm sure you'll hear more about that later in the meeting. The ESSER 2 funds need to be depleted by the end of next year, not this year.
Okay, end of 22.
22.
Okay.
Aaron,
Okay.
the ESSER 3 funds will be spent. We have 3 years to do that. but
Okay.
there's some processes to go through, and I believe Matt Thatcher will talk about it next month.
Okay.
So we'll be okay with that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank
Any
you.
other questions? No. All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Taylor.
you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on is 6C High School Principals Report. Mr. Rasmussen, are you with us?
I'm here. You guys have my audio?
I do. Hey, I have to make a comment, Mr. Rasmussen, before you start. In all the board packets I've read, I don't think I've ever come across the word smorgasbord before. So nice job.
Okay, I aim to please and show you my word choice and variability there. So anyway, thanks for having me. You have my report in front of you, and it does include the word smorgasbord. So, and we'll start with that this summer. Starting last May all the way through the end of August, we provided opportunities for kids to be remediated and to experience new things. The exciting part of that is that about 160 credits, in fact, more than 160 credits were earned in that time. Many of those were recovery credits for kids who had done poorly in a class. And so those state dollars that were passed through from the federal government really supported our high school students, and some of them getting on track. And we have a large number who came back to us from the CVA Academy and the Cascade Opportunity Center. We also had a high number of freshmen succeed. Our freshman on track rate was 96%. And in a pandemic year, that is outstanding. And so we're super proud of that. Big props go to our staff. Christina Williams, our counselor, also was part of that. So, and some of those dollars from those summer programming funds directly supported those freshmen, and they were trying to recover classes and get caught back up. So we feel great about that. Some of the other projects you can see if you've been to the campus, we've got 4 outdoor classrooms plus our courtyard where teachers can take kids to go outside during the day. They are being used constantly. We're so excited about that. Teachers are loving the opportunity to get outside with the weather. It's been fantastic. And pretty much the rest of the school is going normal. We're working hard to continue our COVID protocols, including the masking. Lots of reminding kids and corrections, but they are doing it. We were worried that we'd have a mass exodus to go to CBA, families and kids who didn't want to wear the mask, but they're coming. And I hope that they can see that we're trying to give kids an opportunity during their days to have breaks. We lengthened passing times to go walk around outside between classes. We're having kids eat their lunches outside on tables and chairs everywhere. So we're working super hard to make it comfortable for kids, and they're appreciating it. So beyond that, we're kind of full steam ahead, trying to plan for all of our normal school activities in the midst of the pandemic while keeping all of our COVID protocols and safety measures in place. Homecoming is next on the docket, and getting creative about how to do all those things while having those measures in place. So there'll be some tweaks for sure, but we'll continue to make that work to try to give kids the fullest experience that we can. Questions?
Down here.
I was reading about the career and technology education. Where are you putting the auto program and the small engines?
Great question.
Where are they?
Last year, we used junior high and high school Measure 98 high school success dollars to revamp the old auto shop. It's a 3-bay on the east side of the vocational building. It was largely storage. And it's actually the old auto shop. So two bays are now the CTE lab, where 8th graders can go in and do all kinds of different experiences, learning about new careers. And 1 bay is the small engines and auto tech shop. They can go back and forth the door. There's a big passageway where they can get between the bays. So we're excited about that. We'd love to show it to you sometime. So if any of you'd love to see that, contact me. I'll walk you down there. It's fantastic.
Awesome. I'll be there one of these days.
You bet. Let's do it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I've heard nothing but great things, Pete. So good job. Just
All right,
great, positive stuff going on. Yeah.
Thank you. Great veteran staff and veteran administration to join and be a part of. So I'm excited to be there. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great principal too.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rasmussen. Moving on, we've got 6D junior high principals report. Ms. Leday.
Good evening. I hope you can hear it.
Yep.
Here I am. Mr. Drill mentioned that our halls are full, and they are very full. Those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, there's a lot of them. I counted today, and I think we have about 613 on a given day in our building, and about 18 kiddos are doing our online program, which is down significantly from last year. We had about 70 online, and most of them want to be in the building, which is fantastic. But it is full. I think this is just a few down from our biggest numbers just a couple of years ago. So we're full. I mentioned in my report that we had a couple outdoor opportunities for families to experience the junior high and kind of figure out what our world is like, and they seem to be well received. We did an open house ice cream social the week before school started, and teachers worked really hard to get their classrooms up and running, but it was a wonderful experience. A lot of nervous kids who hadn't even seen the whole building got to kind of experience their schedules and go around and meet their teachers and see what their rooms looked like and ask questions. So I thought that was a great opportunity and definitely something the staff considers wanting to repeat in the future. So that was great. And like Mr. Rasmussen, we're hoping to get our outdoor classrooms up and running. I've heard all of our stuff is in, so now it's just a matter of putting up our tents and getting our outdoor tables and classrooms up and going. So we're looking forward to it. We're working through some bugs, you know, and having 600 kiddos out on the front lawn trying to do recess and out and lunches at the same time is a little bit chaotic. So we're going to monitor and adjust as we go this next week or so, but we're learning as we go. Any questions?
I've got a, go ahead, Ruth.
Okay, I was just going to say, do you have outdoor school planned? Is there a date?
It is on the docket. We were in a meeting this morning, and I heard an announcement for high school kids who want to be counselors. So I think it's coming. It's planned for the fall right now. I'm thinking it's going to look a lot like last year where it was a day camp situation, but it was as close as you can get to being at outdoor school without spending the night last year. So it was an amazing opportunity for kids.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
So that was one of my questions. The other one is about Avid. I see that you're starting that program again, giving it a reboot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is kind of a reboot because we have lots of new teachers, and last year being distance learning, not as many Avid techniques were being used as what we would have liked because it's a different format being online. So we're just kind of reteaching teachers how to do Avid, and we have quite a few new teachers. So making sure that they know the same skills and everybody's on the same playing field right from the start. We actually have 3 Avid classes this year. We have 2 7th grade and 1 8th grade, which is up for us. So we're excited, and we have lots of kids interested in the program.
Great. Okay, that's all I got.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on, 6E elementary principals report. Ms. Ganfield. You're on mute.
Yeah. You want to go and reduce mine?
We're getting echo.
Give her just a sec. I think she's switching over to Tim's.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Hang on, Tim has to shut the other mic off. So we did, just shut the whole thing down.
Take it somewhere else.
We did summer school. We combined our KPI dollars for our pre-Ks and our migrant dollars for migrant ed, and then our summer enrichment dollars. And we did a traditional summer school in the morning for 3 weeks in August. And then we did summer enrichment all afternoon. And we had a bunch of kids on campus for summer school. We were pre-K through grade 11 in the morning. And with our pre-K dollars, previously we had done home visits, but because of COVID, we brought the kids into the building by appointment only. And then we ended up having 2 full pre-K classes during our summer experience, which we called Kinder Jumpstart. And that was an amazing experience. And what we're seeing is that kinders are coming into Soft Start with a ton of confidence and feeling ready to start kindergarten tomorrow. We had Kinder Open House tonight, and it was really fun to watch the littles walk in and show their parents around and explain, here's my class, here's where we eat lunch, here's where we do PE. So that was really exciting. We have registered a ton of new families. We got a lot of move-ins, and you can kind of see the breakdown in my report. We did lose some families to charter schools and online schools. We have probably 20 elementary kids in our online Cascades online program now. And there are the rest of those withdrawals are moves, legitimate family moves, either out of state or to a different part of Oregon. But we will see a steady increase in our registrations all throughout September, and usually by October, we have some pretty true numbers that we can count on. Our classrooms feel really full, particularly in first grade, which is new. Our first grades have typically been fairly small. We have a ton of classrooms that are just bursting with enthusiasm. We are restarting our Avid Elementary school-wide. We are also going to restart Ruler, which is our social emotional curriculum, and our counseling team will be leading that. And then also we had some amazing curriculum developers come and work with our staff during professional development back to school week on our new math curriculum. Teachers are diving into that with gusto. And we, I think, did not expect as much teaching kids how to do school again. And so we're kind of giving our teachers permission to kind of take a breath, take a break, and kind of recenter themselves into expectations for both behavior and for learning, as well as dealing with some increased anxiety on the kids' part about being out of the house and back in school. So those are some challenges that we're kind of dealing with right now on day 5 of the new school year. Are there any questions?
I have a question. You said that first grade is one of your bigger class sizes. What is the number in those classes?
Ruth, I can't hear you. Are you muted?
No.
I can hear her.
Can you hear me now? Brett, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, Ruth. Okay. Cindy, can you hear me? Maybe if we just yell.
Cindy?
Okay, try again, Ruth.
Okay. You were saying that your first grade has the largest class sizes, and I'm just curious, what is that number in your first grade classes?
We are at 27 right now.
Okay, wow. Good for you guys.
And our 5th grade is sitting right about the same number, but
okay,
it's harder with 6-year-olds than it is with 11-year-olds.
Absolutely, yes. Wow, gosh.
I've got a question for you, Cindy. Your report said you have 4 unfilled positions. Are you going to fill those 4, or are we leaving those open?
So I have one teacher, my Title I teacher, that I think we found a good fit on Friday, and we're doing reference checks right now, hoping to fill that position this week. The rest of my positions are instructional assistants, and 3 of those are in the Title I program. So I needed to find a teacher first, and then I hope to post those. I hope to fill them. There are slim pickings right now.
Well, that's why I asked. I can imagine. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Substitutes are hard to find right now as well.
Wow. Okay. Does a person to be a substitute, maybe this is something maybe missed for Dawn, but to be a substitute, does someone, what education level does someone have to be a substitute teacher in Oregon?
TSPC will license a restricted license. If a person has a bachelor's degree,
okay,
they can get a restricted license, which is a 1 year and it's a pretty short scope of what they can teach. But a bachelor's degree can get you a restricted license.
And then after that 1 year, then what happens? Then you're done?
Not necessarily. If TSPC, so each year that person would have to renew their license, and the district that they are working for has to submit a letter of support each year.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's fair.
But to solve the problem, Matt Thatcher said he'd come over and teach second grade next time we're short.
I like that answer.
Sweet. I thought Brett was going for it, but hey, you know.
I'm eligible apparently, so maybe where do I get? Can you send me the form?
I will send in a letter of support right now.
I'll review the link, Brett.
I'm not promising I'll send it back, but you're welcome to send it. All right, wonderful. Any other questions?
No, I just want to say good job, Cindy. I know you guys do a great job over there.
Thanks. I have to say thank you to Zach and Kelly for keeping us running and everybody keeping their head above water. Zach and Kelly have worked hard August and September.
Excellent.
You're all working hard. Thank you.
I was going to say it's all three of you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ganfield. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. 6F, Assistant Superintendent's Report. Ms. Moorfield.
So you have in your packet the final copy of the classified collective bargaining agreement that we actually TA'd back on August 6th. I did get word today from Tina Christensen, who is the president for the local Cascade chapter, that they voted over the weekend and their union members passed. So I'm bringing the agreement to you this evening for your approval. And Brett will need to have you sign a couple copies of the signature page so that we can get that all finalized.
Okay.
Do you guys have any questions about the bargaining agreement?
Yeah, I do, of course. Nope. All right, here's my question. So I'm looking at page 18, for example. It talks about Article 9, work week and hours, and the contracts are based on 40-hour weeks. How are we tracking those 40 hours? Do people clock in and clock out? Do teachers clock in and out?
Teachers don't clock in and out. The only people that use a timesheet are our classified staff. And we actually have an electronic timesheet that we went to, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. It's called Time and Attendance, and it's through Frontline. And so they do all of their clocking in and clocking out electronically. And then at the end of each week, the supervisor for that particular employee, it could be the building administrator, it could be like Joe Lule does all the maintenance people, Michael Essex would do the technology people, then they approve those timesheets, and then it goes to payroll, and then payroll uses that information to pay. It's nice because that program actually coordinates with our absence management program through Frontline. So if somebody puts in that they have a sick day or a personal day, it automatically transfers over to their timesheet. And so they don't have to record any extra days that are in absence management.
So does that mean that the certified folks are not subject to overtime?
They are not. They are exempt.
They're exempt? Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. That was my question. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you, Ms. Moorfield. Appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Moving on is 7A personnel. Ms. Moorfield.
So we have one, it's actually a decommitment resignation. We had hired somebody in June for a position, and he accepted another position in another district. And while we were going to hold him to the 60 days, we just decided that it was in the best interest of kids, instead of having him start and then having a sub come in, that we would just get a long-term sub until we could get that position filled. So That is that resignation. And then we are still hiring. So I have a list of new hire recommendations. We hired Amber Burns as a 6th grade teacher for the junior high, Sarah Koenig, elementary teacher at Turner, Donna Ray Loomis, who was Donna Ray when she was working at the junior high. She retired several years ago. She has offered to come back to fill our our foods classes at the junior high. Crystal Snodgrass is over at West Staten in our alt school. And Susan Varney, we hired for Cloverdale, and she'll be doing EL and reading over at Cloverdale.
I wondered if that was our Donna Ray. Awesome.
It is, yeah. So very excited to have her.
Well, everybody, but yeah, I looked at that and went, that's pretty weird, filling the same position. So, huh.
Yep.
Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
what building is the special ed position that was hired and then resigned?
It's at the high school.
It's at the high school. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second question is I know that we were lucky enough to get Donna. I think we all feel that way. And I know that she's half-time. Is that commitment for the whole year, or is that just a trimester?
That will be for the whole year.
Okay, good. All right, good.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 7B, board policies, second reading, Mr. Drill.
So in your packet, the second month of the board policies, as we said before, the first month was last time. Mostly just changes from the legislature, making adjustments, usually in words, a couple of adjustments around their meaning, but for us, none of those are really significant in any way, shape, or form, other than the legislature said, hey, we've changed the words or the law, and so we need to comply with those. Any additional questions on those?
None here.
Okay. Nope.
Okay, we're good then? All right, moving on is 8A, criminal background check follow-up. Ms. Moorfield.
So I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and follow up with you. I believe at our August meeting, there was conversation about a House bill that had been passed. They had talked about that individuals would not have to go through criminal background checks. And so I wanted to share with you just a quick reference guide from PACE, which is our insurance company, around background checks. We have not changed our process around background checks. We're still requiring them for all of our classified staff that are not licensed through TSPC. Also, we require them for any volunteers as well as any contractors that will have, could possibly have any type of contact with students where they would be left alone with the child. The House bill that was referenced in the previous meeting was House Bill 2942. Basically, what that House bill did is it removed certain non-violent crimes from a list of crimes that automatically make a person ineligible to hold a license or registration that's issued by the Teacher Standards and Practices Commission if that person had been convicted of a crime. So it allows the commission to refuse to issue a license or registration to any person who has been convicted of those crimes. And these are crimes like murder, pornography, selling meth, making meth, those really high level crimes. So just wanted to provide a follow-up for you just so that you were aware that nothing on our end has changed. So do you have any questions for me?
I just appreciate the answers. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Dawn, do we, the board, have to get the background checks done every year? Is that what this means? Where's
So we are actually, as a district, I think we're going to move to background checks every other year. Most districts don't do background checks of their volunteers every single year. We're going to do every other year. And we're actually going to be implementing a new system as well to make everything electronic for our volunteers and signing in and getting stickers to put on their put on themselves whenever they come in to volunteer or visit. So yes, you'll be notified if you need to do a background check.
Good. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Ms. Moorfield. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on is 8B, Staff Handbook. Ms. Moorfield.
Oh, that's me again.
That's you again.
So I have provided to you our staff handbook for the 21-22 school year. Usually we get this to you usually July, but OSBA didn't have the edits available until the very beginning of August. So you have the staff handbook. There were quite a few changes, mostly around sexual conduct for staff and students. Those were the biggest, that was the biggest change in the staff handbook. Did you have questions for me?
Can we get a copy of that if we want to, rather than me print out 83 pages?
Yes, we can get a copy of that for you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. 8C, OSBA Convention, Mr. Drill.
So as you are aware, the convention itself, somebody's made mention that was canceled due to COVID, both the partial in-person and online. Not quite sure why Oregon School Boards Association canceled the online part, but they did. And then the other part of this here is that they have elections that are open for OSBA if you wanted to run or serve on a position. I think a long, long time ago, not very long ago, but a while back, right, Karen? That was something that you had done. So you ran on those, but if you're not interested, that's okay. It's just an opportunity for us to do that. We have 2 people in our Marion County region that are serving, but over every other year they have updates. So if you're interested, let me know.
All right. Any questions on that? All right. Thank you, Mr. Drill. Moving on is 8E, Coach Advisor List. Mr. Drill.
On the list in front of you, these are the coaches for the fall. We always go through that process so you can see each and every one of those. Again, extra duty and or volunteer stipends, right? We get people, volunteer stipend means that there's somebody in our community or just outside of our community that help coach. And then the extra duty would be folks that are actually working for us as a staff member here at Cascade. So you will see these upgrades as we go along. So you see the length of those for now, and they will be added on to when we get to winter and spring sports as well.
All right. Any other questions on that? Okay, moving on. We're going to go now to public comment. And since this meeting is via Zoom due to COVID and the ease of the spread of the Delta variant, all public comments must have been submitted in written form to the board secretary by 3:30 p.m. today. That being said, I'm opening them up, so bear with me 2 more seconds. Okay, so we've got a couple of comments here that we will address. The first one, I'll say we got a comment about statewide mask mandate for children in public schools. There was no question to address, so I appreciate the thought on that. Thank you. The second one is we got a notice from a person in our community about an individual that is on a committee that might have a conflict of interest. I've discussed this with Mr. Drill. We're going to look into it, Mr. Drill. I guess the next step on that is for you to get with legal counsel and discuss what our options are. And is that something you can report back to the board on as far as what the next steps are that we have available to us?
Absolutely. So you had a community member send in something about another community member that happens to be on your budget committee. And so the goal for us now is to entertain legal counsel so that she can provide information about what the next steps would be. So that same thing would happen when we went through a process dealing with any board member or any other person that's part of a committee that we put together. If there's an issue, then we need to go ahead and move forward. We will ask legal counsel to go through a process, provide advice, and then give us some information about what we need to do next at the October board meeting. If it needs to take longer than that, then our attorney will let us know that. But I believe we can get that information out this week and hopefully get some information back to you guys as soon as possible.
All right. And then you and I can work on what the next step is, and we'll keep the other members informed.
We'll keep the other members informed. Obviously, you will need to reach out or you can have me reach out to our budget committee member, and then also keep informed the public person that asked the question as well. So right now, the goal is to, first steps is to reach to legal counsel,
right,
and ask exactly what that process would be. From there, we will keep everybody informed.
All right, perfect. Thank you for that. All right, our last one is some public or a written comment we received, I guess, for some clarification on a couple of issues that were discussed at prior meetings. Do you want to take the lead on the question number one, Mr. Drill?
Certainly. I had a parent and a community member ask about a comment that I made at the last board meeting. To make sure that I get it right, I want to make sure that I read it. Basically, it says, Mr. Drill, when board member Chair Stiegel asked Darren, and can I ask you a question, Darren? Did we stay in the lines when we brought those kids back? Superintendent Drill's response was, we did. I mean, we bent some rules, we bent some. I'm not going to lie, we were to the edge of those rules, but they were so new, we tried to figure that out. At Cascade, we were the only school district west of the Cascades. The others were east of the Cascades. So, you know, we worked it very hard trying to figure out how to get around the process. These statements are concerning for a number of reasons, not least of which because they are related to public safety and liability for our district. Please clarify for the public. My response at the time was about us getting our students back into school full time. So right around mid-spring, I believe that's the conversation we were having, Mr. Stiegel, about that. At the time, as you transferred out of February and into March and April, the Department of Education really provided one of two options. One was to have some level of what they called full-time instruction for students during the spring, and also part-time instruction, 2 hours a day. And so what we were trying to accomplish is to get away from 2 hours a day, get closer to the full-time process. What ODE had provided for us was a few samples about how it is you can go ahead and do that. None of the samples that we saw were something that Cascade was willing or interested in trying. After trying the 2 hours a day for a little while, we started to move, and I believe we did move for a few weeks to 2 days a week for one group, 2 days a week for the other group. And then on Fridays, we had online to check in and all that kind of thing. Quickly, most of our staff reported that particularly that Friday wasn't working. Our goal then was to try to see if we could get kids in every day. And that was our goal. So when I reached back out to ODE about that, they specifically said, well, what you're trying to accomplish, we hadn't really envisioned. It says in here, this is how you would operate if you were doing 2 hours a day, or this is how you're operating part days. But they said, please talk to us about the safety protocols. So we explained the safety protocols that we would have in place in the process. And then we were given the go-ahead through our plan that Dawn and all our other administrators had worked on. So the rest is kind of history. We went ahead and moved forward. So when I say we bent some rules, we really did bend them. We didn't break anything, and we didn't violate anything. The other thing I was concerned about was to make sure that we did it safely. And obviously, we mentioned that we were ranked 8th for face-to-face instruction over the course of the spring. We also did not have any passing of COVID during that time in class with our staff and or our students. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, I'm sure our community member will reach back out to me. But that is based on that information. That's what I know. Questions on that?
I don't think you need any defending here, but I will say I don't know that the word bent the rules is accurate. Maybe push the limits on what was available to us, but I don't think we went outside the lines one bit looking at it in hindsight. So thank you for what you did.
Fair enough.
Okay, appreciate that. Any questions for Mr. Drill on item number one? Nope. All right. Then going on to number 2 was a question regarding a statement Mr. Remy made. I think it was at last month's meeting. Mr. Remy, do you want to address that for us?
I'd be glad to. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
The concern that was raised was that that it was the understanding of the meeting participant or viewer that I had a long career in public service, and that currently I am serving as a public official on our board. And yet at the public meeting, I had been heard to state that I did not like government. And that statement was concerning for a number of reasons, not least of which because it relates to integrity and the respect for authorities by our district leaders. Please clarify for the public. And I very, very much appreciate the respectful request and opportunity to do just that, to clarify. And I would like a moment to do that if I could.
Please.
It is correct that I've spent an entire adult lifetime in public service, and it should be concerning, and it would be concerning to hear me say that I don't like government. The opposite is true. I am not anti-government. I believe that government is critically important. I believe in the rule of law. I've sworn a solemn oath to uphold and to remain subject to the law, and that's my civic duty, and I accept that gladly. I don't recall choosing those words at the last meeting, but the truth is I don't remember exactly what I did say. I do remember exactly what I was trying to say, and I'd like an opportunity to try to say that one more time. I was trying to say that I am frustrated when I see one level of government making decisions that I believe are reserved for or best made by another level of government. I'm speaking only for myself, but I think we have parents and teachers and building administrators and other school staff who are best equipped to make decisions about very complex issues that impact our local schools, even complicated issues. I want it to be clear to anybody who's listening, and especially to the person who took the time to ask about what I meant, that I believe the United States of America is an experiment in self-governance, in democracy. And I shudder to think about what will happen to our local communities across the country if we allow these issues to divide us. Our strength locally here in the Cascade School District is not in our agreeing. We can disagree, and we should disagree, sometimes strongly and maybe even loudly, but we must remain united, undividable, indivisible. Our children need us. They deserve for us to be an indivisible group of united, concerned, caring, compassionate adults. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Remy. Appreciate that. Does anybody else have any comments on the public comments before we move on? Nope. All right. Thank you both for addressing those 2 issues. I appreciate it. Okay. On that note, we will move on to number 10, resolutions. Bear with me 2 seconds. All right. Is everybody ready? All right, moving on. We've got 10A, resolution regarding OSEA collective bargaining agreement for 2021 through 2025.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the Oregon School Employees Association, OSEA, collective bargaining agreement for 2021 through 2025 as recommended by the administration.
Second.
10A, resolution regarding OSEA collective bargaining agreement for 21 through 25 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 10B, resolution regarding resignation.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the resignation of Jeffrey Deal, special education teacher, as recommended by the administration.
Second.
10B, resolution regarding resignation has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 10C, resolution regarding new hire recommendations.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the hire of Amber Burns, 6th grade teacher, Sarah Koenig, elementary teacher, Donna Ray Loomis, FACS teacher, Crystal Snodgrass, alt education teacher, and Susan Varney, EL reading teacher, as recommended by the administration.
Second.
10C, resolution regarding new hire recommendations has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 10D, resolution regarding board policies, second reading.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the second reading of the board policies listed below.
Okay.
10D, resolution regarding board policies, second reading has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Hang on. All right. Any future agenda items, Mr. Drill?
I think we'll go ahead and obviously keep you updated on the numbers attendance-wise, and obviously with all the mandates and the requirements and the hope that we get local control back. I think those are the pieces that we'll continue to work at. If I learn something, obviously, between now and the next board meeting, I will let you know right away so we can make some adjustments. But in the meantime, we will continue pressing on, and just want to say appreciate what you guys are trying to do here, and just really want to thank our staff for just working as hard as they can to make this thing happen.
Okay, I'll make one last observation or commend Mr. Dyer. I was going by the Cloverdale on Monday, Labor Day Monday at 7:15 p.m. and Mr. Dyer was out there with a backpack blower on, blowing off sidewalks. So thank you, Mr. Dyer, for all your dedication. So on that note, anything else, anybody?
I don't think so.
All right, that's it. We're done. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drill.